So you've got your training plan down to a T, you're following your nutrition down to a T, but you're still not making progress. Why could that be? That's what we're going to uncover in this video. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tom Sergi. I run the Gorilla Platoon, an online physique transformation program where we get results like this. And as discussed, this is going to be the topic of today's title, which was inspired actually by a client of mine. He was making progress for the longest period of time. And then we started to come to a point where he was following nutrition. We'd even made changes to the nutrition. He was training, but he actually still wasn't seeing the result that we should have done from a body composition standpoint. And it was interesting. We then fixed this one point and bang, started to drop off again. And the results came from that. But it really hammered home to me like how important this part is in order for making progress. And this will conclude the 4-part series. And honestly, if you ignore this and just do what you do anyway, you will swim upstream when you're trying to get to the goal. I had a client and we dropped around 12 kilos, and that can be, I've done that in 12 weeks with people, not a problem. But this took around 5 months because he just couldn't nail down this one variable, partly because of his lifestyle, and then partly maybe could have come down to a bit of organization as well. But you will spend a lot longer trying to get a result if you don't fix this one part. And you probably know where I'm going with this. The answer is your ability to sleep and recover from what you're doing. So sleep's not the most sexiest of topics, but what I did was I did some research, got some information, made some points to give to you, and we're going to go through them now. And this will really just hammer home how, yeah, sleep, it's not the most exciting topic, but actually if you get this right, you're going to fast track yourself to the goal, which I'm sure you all would fucking love nothing more to do. So we're going to go through the points now and expand on them. So the first thing to understand, so let's say you're in a dieting phase. I give you 250 grams of carbs because you're right at the back end of your diet. We need to get that last little bit of body fat off. You sleep poorly for a couple of nights. You've decreased your insulin sensitivity. So when you eat those 250 grams of carbs, you may only get the efficiency out of them of, let's say, 180. So you've wasted X amount of carbohydrates. And when you're already on lowish amount of carbohydrates anyway, which, again, this would only happen right towards the back end of the diet. If you watch my channel before, you know I like to keep food as high as possible for as long as possible to drive performance. But just by poor sleep, you're not maximizing the amount you could get out of that feeding. Likewise for me, I'm in the depths of an off season. I'm eating a fair amount of carbs. And if I'm not sleeping well, I'm just shuttling food into me for the sake of it. Well, if I'm not using it efficiently, where's it going? We know the answer, right? And it's just going to store in those fucking hips of yours. So honestly, like, if you actually want to make solid gains, if you want to make the most out of each meal you eat, especially in a dieting phase when your calories are low, you need to sleep in order to get that. The next thing to look at is it decreases leptin. Leptin helps prevent hunger and regulates energy balance. So think about it now, if you decrease that hormone, the leptin hormone, it's not going to prevent hunger, it's going to fucking increase it, which means just general adherence to the diet during that day is going to be much harder on your mental strength than it needs to be. Again, let's not swim upstream. I'm sure you could probably have poor sleep, be hungry as fuck, and man it out the way through the day. Like, no, I've got 6 of these calories. I'm sure you can. But there's no point stressing yourself and making yourself do that if you can just sleep better and make it more efficient. Because let's be honest, maybe you could do it for one day, but you couldn't compound like that. That's not a sustainable approach to get to the goal. So it's important that you do get the sleep for that reason. On the flip side, it increases ghrelin. Ghrelin signals to the brain. It's a signal from your brain, basically telling the stomach that it's ready to eat. So if you've got something that's increasing your hunger and then your body's telling you it's time to eat, you're going to be fucking ravenous and you're just going to be thinking about food rather than what you need to be doing in a given day. So we really want to sleep to level out these two from a hormone perspective. Again, your hormones, they happen like automatically. Let's not fuck around with them. Let's listen to them and use them to our own advantage. The next thing is it reduces motor learning control. Think of this in the crossover to training. If I'm telling you to train your pecs, and I'm saying when you train your pecs, you're not pressing the load from A to B. You're going to stretch your fibers out, you're going to pause at the bottom, and you're going to drive back up. And I'm giving you a tempo of 3 seconds on the way down, 1 second pause, 2 seconds to contract. Or I'm giving you an RDL where I'm saying, it's not a down and upward movement. And you're like, hang on a minute, but the bar's going up and down. And I'm saying you need to move your hips backwards and move your hips forwards to close, to flex and extend the hip joint. If you're tired and this has been reduced, it's going to make that significantly harder in order to execute. So you're then more likely to for what? Probably to get injured, right? Because you're just not thinking the same. And that's where most injuries come from. It's not that like because you're asleep, your muscles are infinitely weaker. It's just that people do retarded things when they're sleep deprived, and you'll do something weird, or you won't be focused because it's been reduced, and you'll tweak a back or something and put you out for a few days. So that's another thing to consider. One of the biggest ones in terms of swimming upstream or downstream is it actually reduces your growth hormone and testosterone. The absolute creme de la creme building blocks from a hormone perspective of gaining tissue and dropping body fat. Why would you fucking reduce that? Like, you should make it your birthright to get as much sleep as possible if these two hormones are sacred. Like, let's be honest, as natural athletes, these are as, we're going to get these as optimal as possible. If we're not going to physically inject a foreign body in ourselves to pump these up, which we're not going to, then our only option is to sleep. It has to be done. You have to look at sleep as the only way to push these 2 points up and be very, very selfish with this in order to increase these. So, like, it really is like trying to run with fucking a weighted vest on, or it's trying to swim with an anchor attached to you. Like, if you're not sleeping well, you may as well reduce the way you're training because you won't recover from it anyway. You can train really fucking hard. You can eat all the protein in the world. If you just can't recover from the sessions you're doing, if you can't grow from what you're doing, then what's the point? You're going to the gym to damage tissue, to not recover from it, to damage more tissue, to not recover, damage from it. Before you know, you just dig the crepe deeper and deeper, and you don't look any better for it. You went to the gym to look better, and instead you're just going to the gym for the sake of going to the gym. And I'll be honest, I've done this. Like, for a couple of years, I used to do this. I was like, why am I not growing? Why am I not seeing progress? I'm training really hard, but I was never cashing in the gains I'd made. I wasn't re-sowing the seeds which I'd harvested before. So, honestly, I would like seriously to take it serious. Likewise, 5 nights of 50% of sleep will decrease your muscle protein synthesis. That's quite drastic, really. I mean, if you've had 5 nights... The only time this should happen is if you're on holiday and you're on a big fucking lads' night out bender for 5 nights. That's the only reason why this should go down, but it's going to have a detrimental effect. The next thing, if you want to stay lean in an off-season, get your sleep in. Because if you sleep better, you're less likely to put on body fat, and of course you're going to grow and repair the tissue. But likewise, if you sleep poorly, you're more likely to put on body fat, therefore, and less likely to grow tissue. And bear in mind, you were doing the off-season to grow tissue. So if you're not growing tissue from that off-season, you're going to keep going, aren't you, so you can get the tissue. But ultimately, because you're increasing the fat gain at such a faster rate, you're just going to run out of the bulk. You'll be too fat and you'll just have to cut anyway. So your ability to sleep is really, really, really sacred because you're trying to cash in all the work you've done and keep that fat level like down. Look at it like this. The fat level is almost like the kettle, and as soon as it starts to boil and there's water fucking bubbling everywhere, you've got to turn all the dials off and let it cool down again. And that's the same for you, except you'd have to go on to a cut. Catch-up sleep is shown to not be that effective. So you may find that people say, I sleep 5 hours on the weekend, I sleep 10. It don't really work like that. It's not really the same. It's much more efficient if you can just go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time, and have roughly in and around the same amounts of sleep. There will be, like, don't get me wrong, if you have like 5 hours, you will have a lot of residual like sleep debt that you will need to recover. But it doesn't work the same in terms of your freshness, having caught up on sleep. It's a given. Try and go to bed at the same time and get up at the same time. So these are like habits you can do now. And what will stop that is the bottom point, really. It's your own... The reason people don't sleep that well is either their own organisation or their lack of selfishness. If you want to look after yourself, the best thing you could do is sleep. It's not fucking cold plunge. It's not fucking red light therapy. It's not fucking sauna. It's not foam rolling or stretching or any of that garbage. If you want to square yourself away, your body is a lot more efficient and has been around doing this thing since the day you were born. It will work a lot better than any cat shit recovery tool you've got for it. I can tell you that with the hand on my heart, and I think that makes obvious sense. So let the body do its thing. It knows how to recover. It knows how to get you better when you're sick by sleeping. So give it that extra bit. You want to look after yourself, sleep more. Organisation is one of the main reasons you won't sleep, because you'll have too much things to do before the time that you should go to bed. We want to get up at the same time and go to sleep at the same time, because that will then keep everything in rhythm. You'll be tired at the same time, drop off quicker, wake up fresher, ready to seize the day. You need routine in this, and you do if you're in a dieting phase or a gaining phase. So with this, you want to try and allocate yourself anywhere for people like us that train in the gym. You want at least to be cashing in around the 8-hour marks. Now, try and push 9 if you can. That's what I'm trying to do. Try to push 9 hours. So you do have to be selfish. If you're getting 9 hours sleep, you do have to be selfish. Now, don't get me wrong. It's easy for me to sit here and say, get more sleep, because I live by myself. I only have myself to worry about. And I'm as selfish as it comes anyway. So I can easily say, I'll stay in bed an extra hour. Not a problem. But I appreciate people have commitments. People have things they need to do for the family. If you've got a newborn, I really do get it. You are going to struggle. Of course you are. Because you're both up on stag, like I used to in the military, stagging on the kid and looking after it. I do get it. There is exceptions. But just understand, you're not going to be able to build as much tissue or drop as much body fat in this process. It's just the way it is. But if that is not your reason why you're not sleeping, then you better get your fucking time management in a better space. Your organization, you need to audit your life and think, how can I be more organized? How can I get this extra hour? Because you want to look at getting that extra hour of sleep more than trying to get that extra rep, more than trying to eat that extra bit of protein. Honestly, more than trying to do a lot of things in life, if you got that extra hour of sleep, you'll be a lot more effective in your day-to-day. And think how much, if you can be, let's say, let's put it like this. You get 7 hours, now you get 8.5. So you get extra night of sleep cycle. And if you had 5 sleep cycles up to now, I'm just making numbers up, of course I am. But if you had 5 sleep cycles up to now and it got you to X amount of success, and you added another one on, so one more, which would be another 20% increase, now you're going to be 20% more successful. How much is that actually worth? If you actually think about it now, a fifth. To be 20% better and to be 20% further along than you already are now, bearing in mind your successes stacked on top of each other. That's how you got to the point. It's I did this, then I needed to do this, then I needed to. So it's all it works in like a ladder, like a staircase as such. So if I can give you another run to the staircase, it's going to take you to there. It's not going to be a little bit more successful. It's going to be significant, 20% more successful than you were before. So you need to look at it like that, which I get it. People don't. People do the opposite because, let's be honest, if you're on your phone at night, it's much more interesting to stay on your phone and go to YouTube, Instagram, fucking text some girl, whatever the fuck. It's a lot more, I'm with you boys, I'm fucking more than with you. It's a lot more interesting to do that than it is to go to bed. But over the long run, you will thank yourself for it. And you'll thank yourself for the person you became, because you were like, I was that disciplined motherfucker that didn't stay up texting people because that's when they were free. I was getting in bed that extra hour to grow that tissue, to be more cognitively aware, ready for the next day, so I could go and summit and take what the fuck I wanted in a few years' time. So I appreciate I've just thrown some stats at you and tried to sell you on the idea of sleep, but I'm doing it. I'm making sure my guys are doing it. I suggest you come with me and follow. If you think I've given any value on this channel in the past and you think I'm slightly credible, I suggest you follow this and force yourself to get more sleep. Do whatever it takes. You must be selfish in this game, and the most selfish thing you can do and the best thing for yourself is to just get that extra bit of sleep. So that will conclude the 4-part series. If you found it useful, subscribe to the channel. If you want to work with me, then you can book a call and we will take it from there. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.